I think one of the most damaging ideas in marriage right now is the phrase, it takes two. I hear this every single day from couples who are exhausted, disconnected, they're losing hope. And they say to me all the time, like, but it takes two, or there's no point in working on this if my spouse isn't showing up as well. And I think on the surface, that does sound fair. It sounds mature. It sounds emotionally healthy. But I really want to challenge that belief because I think for a lot of couples, it's this belief that it takes two that's actually not helping. It's quietly killing your chance to turn your marriage around. And I want to explain exactly why. If you're in a relationship where you care a lot, but your spouse feels checked out, or maybe they're resistant or defensive or not ready, or maybe they just don't want to talk to somebody like you do, this conversation is for you. So let me just be really clear from the start. Yes, it does take two people to create a dynamic. Yes, it does take two people to stay married for the long haul and have it be healthy, but it does not take two people to change the trajectory of a relationship. It just does not take both people to shift the emotional climate. And it does not take two people to interrupt the destructive patterns. And it absolutely does not take two people to become a different partner inside of the same marriage. You don't need them for that. And so this is where so many people get stuck, is that they confuse fairness with effectiveness. So they confuse symmetry and equity with leverage, and they confuse both people should try with this idea that nothing can change unless both people try at the same time, in the same way, with the same person. They're very different things. Now, I want to be very responsible here. If you're in an abusive relationship, if you're afraid of your partner, or you're dealing with an untreated active addiction that makes your environment feel really unsafe, then that's a very different conversation, and this does not apply to you. But for most couples that I work with or talk to, you're not unsafe. You're not dealing with extreme pathology. You're dealing with entrenched emotional patterns or chronic disconnection, resentment, shutdown, and reactive cycles that you can't break out of. And these absolutely can be shifted even if your spouse is not participating yet. So let's talk about why I think this it takes two belief is actually damaging. The first cost of this belief is that it creates learned powerlessness. It externalizes your locus of control. When you believe that you can't move forward unless your spouse agrees or cooperates or shows up with you in the same way, you're putting your emotional future in their hands. And so what happens is you wait and you postpone and you stay stuck in analysis all day long, right? And you delay doing the work you already know you need to do because you're like waiting for them. And that often turns into, well, I tried to get them to go to couples counseling. I read this book and they wouldn't read it with me. They didn't want to, so I guess there's nothing else I can do. Or let's say you do finally actually convince them to go to counseling or therapy, and then either they drop out or they don't like the therapist, or you argue after some sessions and you feel misunderstood. You feel like the therapist took sides, which can happen, right? I see this all the time. And when you end up going to therapy and it doesn't work out for whatever reason and it doesn't continue to be productive, then you get really hopeless, right? And I really believe that if you think that the only solution is to get both of you in the room with the same person at the same time once a week, that you're dramatically under-resourcing your marriage and underestimating the power that you do have. And so then weeks go by and months go by, and sometimes even years go by where you're kicking the can down the road because you're waiting for them to be ready. And then there's a second way that this myth shows up that's even more subtle. And that's that this turns into conversations about 50-50 thinking, scorekeeping. You're worried about fairness. Who's doing more? Who's trying harder? It's not fair if I should have to do all the work. Who's more invested? Who's more right or wrong? You think, well, if I lean in and they don't lean in the same amount, then I'm going to look like the fool, or I'm going to get the short end of the stick. I'm going to be the vulnerable one. I'm going to be the one that gets hurt. And I understand that that feels protective and it feels like it makes sense. But this 50-50 thinking keeps you trapped in a scarcity mindset. It really should be 100-100, right? And if you're in the 50-50 thing, you're training yourself to be in the scarcity mindset. And I think what people rarely hear is that real relationship change is not symmetrical. It's not symmetrical most of the time is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes it's 90-10. Sometimes it's 30-70. Sometimes it's only one person that's always dysregulated and dysfunctional. And so trying to pretend like everything is equal in every moment is actually going to block honesty and growth. Even good therapy and coaching should not be about perfect neutrality. There's this idea idea that, well, we have to be completely neutral and never take sides, and it's always 50-50 within the couples counseling relationship. But in my opinion, it should be about the truth, what the patterns are. And sometimes it is one person who's mostly at fault. And I think calling out what is actually happening is what's going to help break the cycle. You have to get real and honest about that. But the biggest problem, I think, with 50-50 thinking is that when you believe that both people have to be present in the same way in order for real work to happen, you're reducing your options to one thing that we've been taught, the only thing that we've been taught, which is traditional couples counseling. So if your partner's on the fence and if they're dragging their feet or if they're emotionally disengaged, you're going to feel so exhausted just trying to get them to put both feet in, because you're stuck on this idea that that's the only option. And hopelessness is one of the most destructive emotional states in marriage. Hopelessness is going to train your brain to replay negative narratives, to scan for evidence that things are broken. It changes your filter of your spouse, so you're only focusing on what's not working and all the things that you don't like, and you filter out the rest. And sometimes you mentally prepare yourself for separation long before you would even get to the point where you're consciously deciding that. You're fantasizing about separation as a way to deal with the pain that you feel while you're waiting, right? And what we focus on expands, so that works against you. And most marriages don't end because people don't care. They end because people stop believing that there's anything meaningful left to try. They think they've tried everything and they really haven't, because they haven't looked at themselves. So let me answer the real question that I know you're thinking right now is like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing then? If it doesn't take two, what do I do if my spouse actually isn't ready to join me in counseling? If you want to step out of the it takes two trap, you have to have a very different mindset and a very different strategy. Not passive self-improvement, not this sort of waiting pattern, not occasional reflection, not waiting for the next therapy appointment, even just for you. You need radical high traction inside out leadership and self-leadership. And so I mean three things specifically when I say that. Number one is that you want to stop working on the marriage casually. You have to start working on it very systematically. If you're the one that cares the most right now, then that's just the reality. And so to honor yourself, you become the emotional leader of the system. Don't worry about what's fair. Just worry about what works. And are you showing up in alignment with what you care about? Are you in integrity with your values and showing up to do the work? And if you are, what do you have to lose? I don't think you have anything to lose. And being the emotional leader of the biosphere of your relationship by going first, that doesn't mean you're controlling your partner. That doesn't mean that you are manipulating them or absolving them of their accountability. It just means that you're committing to daily emotional practice. You're working on your own emotional regulation, your own pattern interrupt of what your losing strategies are. You're daily choosing different responses, or even hour to hour choosing different responses. You're cultivating a new awareness of how you escalate, how you withdraw or pursue or shut down, not once a week, but every day, hour to hour. And there's no bypassing this. So even if both of you were in it 100% in the same thing, if you both were working on it equally, you still wouldn't be able to bypass that part of it. The second thing is you have to take full ownership of your side of the dynamic. So this is not about blame. This is not about like it's only my fault. It's just about leverage. The only power that you have is in your reaction, your emotional bids, your awareness of what your tone is, your boundaries, your implementation of those boundaries, your needs and your requests, and knowing your patterns and not engaging in what doesn't work anymore, like your protest behaviors, whatever you're doing, right? So stop waiting for them to change first so that you feel safe enough to change. You just change because that's what you think is the right thing to do. You become the person that you need to be to have the spouse that you want to have. And so you become safer in doing that. You become more clear from the inside out. You're more grounded. You're more emotionally organized. And paradoxically, that's what actually creates the conditions where your spouse is finally going to be responding differently because you went first. It's just mistimed readiness, and it's okay to go first. And then the third thing you have to do for this inside-out approach and not leave it up to them is to get very clear about what it is that you want and what you will no longer do that is not in service of the things that you want. Most people wait for a mutual conversation because they want to clarify their needs, figure out where are you at, where do you stand, what do you want. But clarity doesn't require agreement. Clarity, when you're in this situation, is not going to come from outside in. You can decide how long can I wait, what can I participate in it, what am I available for, where are my boundaries, what kind of emotional environment I'm going to be here to sustain, what I will not engage in, and what am I willing to co-create. What kind of marriage are you fighting for, and show up as the person who champions that. And then you start to begin living in alignment with your vision and your values and your goals. So not through threatening or policing or controlling or influencing or cajoling or trying to extract something from them. That's how you move into the inside out approach to marriage transformation. And that's really the place to start. And you never have anything to lose by doing that. If your spouse is still in the picture, but emotionally checked out or defensive or reluctant to engage you in this process or in any kind of marriage work, please hear this. Your marriage is not stalled because your partner has not agreed yet. It's just stalled because you've been taught that your power depends on their readiness. And that just simply isn't true. So you always have leverage, you always have choice, you always have influence, and in my experience, you have way more influence than you think that you do. So I think that the next step for you is just deciding that you're no longer going to wait to feel better. You're not going to wait to grow stronger, and you're not going to wait to become the partner that you actually want to be. If you want help understanding how this applies to your specific relationship dynamic, I have created a free masterclass that walks through this inside out model and shows you exactly the process that I walk my clients through and the change that's possible when only one person starts. So that link is below in the description. And if you watch it and you decide you want to explore what this would look like in your marriage specifically, you can also book a free call with my team and we'll look honestly at what your patterns are, what your barriers are, what kind of support would actually help you move forward or move the needle. And if we're not the right fit for you, then of course we'll point you in the right direction, but you don't need permission to start fighting for your marriage. You only need the courage to stop waiting. And I know that that's easier said than done, but that's what really changes things from the inside out. So thanks for being here. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next week.